Mid-game is the most crucial time in all of Bee Swarm Simulator, so it's important that you don't make huge mistakes, because it'll impact the rest of your gameplay. So today, I'm going to be giving you guys a complete mid-game guide, beginning with tip number 1, your progression. Now, as a mid-game, there's a lot of things you're saving up for. Petal Wand, Petal Belt, Gummy Mask, the Coconut Gear, so it's important you know which ones you should be buying first. Well, I can put the progression on screen right now. You can take a screenshot of this, but in simple, as a mid-game player, the first thing you should be saving up for is the Petal Belt and your respective masks, you know, diamond mask, gummy mask, demon mask, whatever. After that, you go for the coconut canister, then the coconut clogs, then your windy bee, then your petal wand, and then finally your end game tool. So of course, all these things are extremely expensive. How do you save up the resources to get them? Well, one of the biggest mistakes I see people making is not being consistent. Doing your dailies in Bee Swarm Simulator is one of the most important things and probably one of the best habits you can make for yourself. Get used to hopping in the game, doing your king beetle every 24 hours and your tunnel bear every 48. Make sure you do your coconut crab as often as possible and get your daily glues. That's because all the things I just mentioned will drop you items that you're gonna need. I don't care what you're saving up for. Every single thing I just mentioned has worth to you and is going to help you in your progression, especially the daily glues, might I add, because later in the game, you're gonna be saving up for the gummy boots, which cost 500 glue. Actually, I think it's less now thanks to the nerf, but it'll be a lot easier if you already have glue stocked up. And if you're planning on being a white hive later, you need 1500 for the gummy baller. So it's much better to start saving up right now. Same thing with the coconut crab. Later, you're gonna have to buy the coconut belt, which takes an insane amount of tropical drinks, and the most efficient way to get them is through consistent coconut crab defeat. The only thing you don't have to consistently defeat is your stomp snail. I mean, it's good, but it's not that good, and it's not worth that much of your time, but definitely do it if you can. One thing you should not be doing is this next tip. That is none other than mythic bees. Of course, we all love mythic bees. They're amazing. They make so much honey, but a lot of mid-game players make the mistake of making them their top priority. Yes, mythic bees are good, but they're not gods, alright? While you should be trying to get them, don't make that your main focus, because you need to be focusing more on boosting and making honey rather than trying to get like one specific bee. Now, I'm guessing you still want a mythic bee anyways, because who doesn't? So rather than macro mondo chick for 1,000 hours in hopes of getting that mythic egg, some better ways I have for you are doing the black bear quests. You can do these manually because they're just pollen, but if you want, you can macro them as well because they're pretty easy. You can get one from doing 100 brown bear quests, which is also nice. You can beg professionals to help you defeat your commando chick, which also rewards a mythic egg, or you can just wait till Beesmas and buy one from the Beesmas catalog. All these are extremely good and efficient methods, and I highly recommend it. Just don't forget, you shouldn't be putting all your time into mythic bees. There are more important things, such as instead a gifted basic bee. Now, for those of you who don't know, gifted basic bee is the best bee in the entire game, at least when it comes to hive bonus wise. A gifted basic bee rewards 1.2x pollen, which is really insane, and while some of you may have known this, the main problem is players choose the wrong way to obtain it. Of course, while yeah, the most simple and straightforward way is to hatch a basic egg and then feed a star tree to your basic bee, but you should not do this. It is a very big waste of a star tree that you could otherwise be using to gift your event bees. Instead, what you should be doing is buying basic eggs. It might be a little expensive at this point. You might have to wait till later mid-game to do this, but your goal is to spam buy a bunch of basic eggs. You'll need around 250 for this to work, and then use a basic egg and keep trying to hatch a gifted basic bee. So you just use a basic egg, then a royal jelly, then a basic egg, and repeat this process until you get one. It's very efficient, and I promise you guys, you'll be so thankful when you don't have to waste a star tree. Now, with this extra star tree, what are you going to do? Of course, you can use this star tree on other event bees, and this is really big because a lot of people make this mistake. Early game players make this mistake, and end game players make this mistake. It doesn't even matter if you're mid game, and that's because you should know the event bee order, aka the order in which you should be gifting your event bees. I'll put it on screen right now, but the most important bees for you to make gifted first are your photon or tabby bee. Either one works. If you have a ton of tabby love, I would say do your tabby bee first. After that is bear bee, then gummy bee, cobalt bee, and then either vicious bee or festive bee. Personally, I'd recommend festive bee because of the pollen, but if you're lacking in attack, I would recommend doing your gifted vicious bee instead, then windy bee, then crimson bee, then puppy. Try not to focus on leveling your bees until you get a gifted puppy bee. And by the way, if you do want to pause the video right now and take a screenshot of this, I highly recommend it just so you can look back on it later, because it's honestly really, really nice. Now, since we're on the topic of hives, talking about gifted event bees, it's extremely important that I inform you guys on how to level up your bees. And that's because if you mess this up, it may cost you hours down the road. Now, you might know that bees have favorite treats. Commander bees, for example, is sunflower seed. And so you might think that using all your fruits is a really good way to level up your bees. And it honestly is. In the first 10 minutes of playing Bee Swarm, yeah, no, Now, after like the first half an hour of playing Bee Swarm Simulator, by the time you hit 15 bees, feeding your treats to your bees is a horrible idea. You might be wondering why, and it's well because of crafting. You might have experienced in mid-game that some of the items no longer take honey to craft. Now you need things like extracts and oils to craft, and it's much more than just a little bit of farming. And so that's where the blender comes in. Obviously, you go to the blender, you put in your fruits and your jellies, and boom, you can craft some stuff. But of course, this costs you treats, and you're gonna cause yourself a lot of pain if you're wasting all your treats on your bees. So if you're looking to level them up, only feed the actual treats themselves. You know, the ones that are called treat. Only feed those. Your sunflower seeds, strawberries, pineapples, and blueberries should be saved for further crafting. Same thing with bitter berries, neon berries, and moon charms. Your moon charms you're going to need for a good moon amulet. So make sure that you're saving these things so that way you can actually craft the gummy mask in the future. Now, while the moon amulet is pretty good, it of course pales into comparison to the great supreme star amulet, which is a huge breaking point for a lot of mid-game players. Because of course, as a mid-game, your first thought is time to choose a hive color. I want to be a white hive because they make quadrillions of honey. I'm gonna be on the leaderboard. Nope, pause, hold up a sec. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hive colors are a really big thing. For example, being a blue hive isn't as simple as getting a few blue bees. You need amulets, you need bee quips, you need to make sure you know the hive bonuses, and most importantly, you need a good supreme star amulet. This might actually be the best tip in the video so far, and that's that before you choose a hive color, you want to make sure you have a supreme star amulet. Don't choose your hive color too early, and that's because hive colors in mid-game just don't make as much honey. You don't have the amulets, which is the main part, and you don't have access to a full 50 bee hive. So up until you actually obtain supreme star amulet, you should be a mixed hive in Bee Swarm. That's because it allows you to complete quests easier like Riley Bee or Bucko Bee, or really any other bear. Now, when you actually do reach the supreme star amulet and are thinking about choosing a hive color, here's a few things you should know. You don't want to go for a double passive first, probably because first of all, you can't even afford it, but also because even if you can, they're not too worth it right now. Your goal is just to get a good single one, pop star for blue hives, gummy star for white hives, and scorching star for red hive. As for the hive color I recommend being either a blue hive or a red hive first. Please do not be a white hive. I'll explain why. And that's because blue hives and red hives are extremely mid-game friendly. The stars are easy to get from the star amulet, and blue hives are extremely easy to be because all you have to do is macro in the game and you make a ton of honey. As for red hives, they're pretty good and they're pretty easy to boost as. Not to mention, you don't need too many materials for either of them. White hives, on the other hand, are extremely different. Just because you need a ton of goo, you need to make sure you have the gummy gear and usually alts. And if you don't have the gummy baller, white hives are not really that good. So please be a blue hive or a red hive at first, just so you learn how the game works. Then once you get enough honey and reach endgame, that's when you can become a white hive. And if you ever do manage to save up enough for a double passive, just keep in mind it is much better to get a really good singular passive than to have a crap double passive. Please don't sell your life saving for two passives. It's not worth it. Now, of course, to be able to afford those amulets, you're gonna need a bit of honey. And that's why my next big tip is to know how to boost. Obviously, you might not know yet, so my tip is to learn. Watch videos online of people boosting in Bee Swarm Simulator. Honestly, you might not even need to because boosting in mid-game is really simple. Just get some micro converters, use one of the field boosters, and boom, you can just farm honey for the next couple of minutes. Boosting actually gets complicated in endgame, but you don't have to worry about that right now. Now, while boosting is a really great way to get honey, you can obviously go the AFK route, which is macro, of course. Now, if you're a mid-game player and don't know what macro is, I highly recommend you actually go and figure out really fast before you continue in this video, just because it can make you absolute millions, billions, and trillions of honey. But once you do have macro, you want to make sure you macro some honey because it's nice, but it's so much more than just good for honey. As a mid-game player, macro can be your everything. I don't want to give a full-fledged mid-game macro guide, but some things I would suggest are, first of all, getting a field you know you have good pollen in, then farming in there. Always do drift comp. After that, always collect your tickets because you can get thousands of tickets from this. Ant Pass, Mondo, and Honey Storm aren't really that worth it. Watch out when it comes to the memory matches. They are very good, but it might be a lot of your honey, so maybe don't play around with it too much yet. You can enable your daily glue, and honestly, I'd recommend royal jelly as well. This saves you the hassle of having to log in every day and get those manually, as well as also defeating a vicious bee, because this can help farm you stingers if you don't have a vicious bee yet. And you can bug run if you'd like, just in case you accidentally used all of your fruits on your bees before you watch this video. Boosts you don't really need to worry about. Quests are nice. You can enable black bear if you want that free mythic egg. Wait, no, never mind. Turns out the option actually only works for repeatable quests. So no, actually don't enable black bear if you don't have them all done. Although I would recommend doing polar bears. Planters, you don't have to worry about too much. And in the end, just make sure you fill out all your stats correctly along with your movements. If you follow everything I've just told you, I promise you, you will succeed mid-game. As you progress in Bee Swarm Simulator, there are a lot more things you're gonna need. As the name implies, this is a Bee Swarm guide channel. So if you like the sound of your own personal guide. You don't even have to subscribe, just hit the bells. It's way more effective. And I'll be able to continue posting guides to help you guys out. So thank you so much for watching, Bee Swarmers. Have an amazing rest of your day. I also live stream giving out YouTube stickers, so if you didn't have a reason to stick around before, well, now you do. And with that said, I will see you all in the next video, Bee Swarmers. I wish you all the best of luck in mid-game.